This is a warning to all living mortals that on the 13th of December, Moose will release 13 of the most terrifying interviews of horror unto the world.
That's right, 13 brand new episodes in the month of December, leading up to our season premiere. And until then, Horror Hounds, mash on.
Everyone up, everyone in. Time for the fun to begin. Come along with me, Lookout Bear, on a brand new adventure. Hello, everyone. Michael B. Moynihan here, Zoobilee Zoo's resident adventurer, Lookout Bear. I, along with my friends Paul.
Hello, Zoobaroos.
And Billy.
Welcome to the show.
Have teamed up to bring you an informative and entertaining deep dive into the loving world of Zoobilee Zoo, one episode at a time. So please, buckle up and join us for...
When you're in Zoobilee, Zoobilee Zoo, Zoobilee Zoo, magic and wonder are waiting for you. So come on with us now and discover the wonder of you. Welcome to Zoobilee Zoo.
That's right, you can listen to the brand new Zoobilee Zoo podcast, dropping the 1st and the 15th of every month, wherever you get your podcasts, or at electronicmediacollective.com/ZoobileeZooPod.
You're listening to Moose's Monster Mash.
Welcome, Horror Hounds, to an all-new episode of Moose's Monster Mash. I'm your host, Moose. This episode's kind of a mid-holiday treat for everybody. Not quite Thanksgiving, that's past, and the new holidays are coming up, so it's a little Thanksgiving leftovers into the taste for the holidays. And we're going to talk about the Grindhouse cinematic universe. And to do that, brought back fan favorite, personal favorite, and multi-time guest. Please welcome Mr. Billy Peck.
Hello, I'm back.
Guess who's back? Back again. Anyway, so how's it going?
Good. I am excited to, come back for another franchise deep dive, so to speak, where
we're going to carve up this franchise.
It's become a nice tradition where, we'll get together. Heck, your very, very first episode ever was with me, and we discussed all the Halloween films, and we've discussed Friday the 13th, and we've discussed Leprechaun, and, whatever else we've discussed.
And there's some more coming down the pipeline.
Oh, yeah.
So stay tuned.
And I'm a huge fan of the double feature film Grindhouse and everything that it brought. It came back into a little bit of irrelevancy due to a new movie that just came out. So it's not often that I push for myself to come on to an episode, but I was like, if there is any time that I think we should do this, it's now.
Oh, absolutely. It couldn't be more relevant. And, with waiting to record it, we were able to share, the updated news about the newest film. And,
People have had time to go see it.
Yep. Newest film being Thanksgiving, which has already been ordered for a sequel. So that didn't take long at all.
Nope.
And the double feature, I remember when it came out, I was thinking it was probably the coolest thing that I'd seen in a while.
Yeah.
2 movies, price of 1. And I've always loved the concept of a double feature.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have this one where, they're sharing cast members and it's all in the same universe, and then it brings back the like homage to like the super 70s horror.
Yes.
And aesthetically, it's just a feel that hadn't been around for a while.
Yeah, and I mean, all those things that you brought up are great points, but also, so this movie came out in 2007, and I don't want to say that there weren't an abundance. It's maybe somewhere in the middle here, and don't take everything that I'm saying verbatim, but there weren't a lot of event movies.
Right.
Not like they are now. You look now at an event movie, it's largely, say, Marvel movies.
Well, and that's right about the time
Star Wars movies. Those things all happen almost every year now.
Well,
multiple a year.
You figure around 2007, the prequels were just, the Star Wars prequels were just wrapping.
Mm-hmm.
The Harry Potter movies were coming out, so it was like Harry Potter and Twilight were your event movies.
Sure. And look, horror had it as well. We were starting to get, the Saw movies every year. You would get Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the remake, or Freddy versus Jason, was an event movie. So they were happening, but they weren't overly quite frequent yet.
But then, like, when you go to see this, start to finish, it is an event feel. It's not a movie. It's not well, and it's not just two movies. This had the feel of something special.
It's two of, and again, especially at that time, like two of cinema's auteurs, the artistes, so to speak.
I say like the most
coming together,
like the iconic and most recognizable visions.
Yeah,
because a Tarantino film on its own has its own feel, its own style.
Yes,
you watch a Tarantino film, you're like, that's Tarantino.
Yep.
Same thing with Rodriguez.
Yes.
You're watching anything Rodriguez does, and you're like, yes, that is 100% him. Here these two guys come together to give us the Grindhouse double feature. It was a match made in heaven.
Yeah. And then on top of that, you get, so these, at that point, those are, your big directors, that had been out for, give or take 10 years. Name directors that, again, it's interesting to look at it now because I think, because even more so now with technology and the way that everything's out there and at your fingertips, I think we're all a little more jaded. And now, like, you think of Tarantino, you just, he's the guy that he puts out great movies. Like, it's almost, I don't want to get into the weeds of it, but when someone is like super independent, they're putting out greatness all the time, it's awesome. Once it becomes this mainstream thing, it almost like becomes like this, like people find something negative about the fact that, all they do is just put out like these great artsy movies. And it's like, that's the stuff we were clamoring for.
Well, and on that same note, I'll call it now. Damien Leone is going to have to watch for that very same pushback. He is being clamored, and I'm right there in that clamoring group. I love Terrifier and the franchise. At some point, the crowd is going to turn.
Yes.
It always does.
Always does. People could care less about Tim Burton now.
Yeah.
People liked Wednesday. They're excited for Beetlejuice, but like,
as a whole, Tim Burton doesn't have that name power that he used to. You could walk into a room and say, hey guys, Tim Burton's making a new movie, and jaws would drop and heads would turn. And now,
back in the day.
yeah.
Now they go,
Oh,
he
okay.
hasn't put a good movie out in 15 years.
Yeah.
Which isn't actually true. It's just not what everybody, you grow up with something,
Mhm.
eventually you kind of fall off. You
Right.
get jaded. And I think to a certain degree, that happened with some of these people later on. But we had our horror and just not just horror, but like horror directors back in the day were our kind of artistic people.
Mhm.
Alfred Hitchcock.
Yep.
Then you move on to John Carpenter, Toby Hooper, people like that. Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez are those directors of that next generation at the time. And what they did was they also brought in the new up and comers. They brought in Rob Zombie, who at that time only had 2 movies out, and that was House of a Thousand Corpses, Devil's Reject, and people were losing their damn minds over him.
I'm going to take a moment for a shameless plug. You want to hear more
Yes.
about House of a Thousand Corpses, make sure you tune in here in a few weeks for the 13 Horrifying Days of Christmas. I have an episode dedicated to House of a Thousand Corpses with Dr. Wolfenstein himself.
You had Eli Roth. Again, 2 movies at that time, Cabin Fever and the first Hostel. People losing their damn minds over this guy. Then Edgar Wright. He had Shaun of the Dead. I don't recall if Hot Fuzz was out yet. But still.
But he was definitely right off the heels of Shaun of the Dead.
Yes, another up-and-coming director. All these guys have a very specific style, look, aesthetic, all of that. And they were brought in to do these fake trailers.
Some of which we have been lucky enough to see the light of day as films, and others were left wanting.
Right. So, again, at this time, these... again, saying all that stuff about, becoming jaded or falling off the wagon or whatever the case is, like at that time, these guys are unstoppable.
Mm-hmm.
We are clamoring for their films.
Well, and as horror fans in general, we are always clamoring for more.
Yes.
And this gave us old meets new in one sit-down, consumable viewing.
Yes.
And it wasn't overwhelming. It wasn't a clash of visions.
Nope.
It was a methodically laid out meal of horror.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is the success of this melding between the older generation of the older directors bringing in the new guys.
Mm-hmm.
They were able to balance out that, essentially, that meal.
Yes. But oddly and unfortunately, this was a concept that the general movie-going audience was not quite prepared for.
No.
And it did okay, but not at all what they thought. And I've heard it several times that, like, if this would have come out within, say just before COVID times, and we are at that point starting to get the more, I know horror fans don't really love this term, but I'm just going to call it what it is, the elevated horror experience, where horror finally stopped following a formula, not a formula, but like, look, every couple years, it's all zombies, then it's all ghost stories, then it's all vampires, then it's all found footage, then it's, it finally hit a point where horror was anything. And so much of it was really good. And these new directors are coming out, and you're getting, early Blumhouse, and you're getting A24, and you're getting, like, again, just this melting pot of, there is no specific subcategory of horror. It's just across the board doing well. That was a good time that it would have, if it came out, probably would have been huge but it was a little ahead of its time.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. I think there were two things ultimately that I don't want to say ruined, because I don't think anything actually ruined this movie. But in the eyes of the general movie public, ruined this movie. And that was, the movie was ahead of its time. And if you look at when it came out, visually and the way the script was written, it feels like a step backwards in horror. You know, because at this time,
Yeah.
the Texas Chainsaw remakes come out. I mean, we're having these great new age, you know, whether the remakes or not, these new graphically, aesthetically pleasing movies
Yes.
come out.
They're very
and
well polished.
It's super polished movies. And then here comes the Grindhouse team, and they said, this is what we're going to do.
No, we're going to make it look like shit.
We're going with the over the top splatter. And it's not, you know, not gore porn, but the blood splatter is going to splatter. You know, it's going to be schlocky, but not too schlocky. And it's, you know, it kind of, you know, it you're right. It didn't have, it came out in the wrong place.
Yeah. You know, what people, the problem is that this movie was made for film geek, and it was pushed to a large audience. The large audience is not film geek.
So I can think of a newer horror film that happened with.
What?
It's Malignant.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
Yes.
designed a very specific way for a very specific audience.
Yes.
And everybody outside of that audience hated it.
Right.
You know, not open to it at all. And that's what happened here.
Even people that it was made for, they didn't. Movies aren't made like that.
You know,
So when you're conditioned to be like, oh, well, I'm just going to go watch this movie, and people didn't get it.
see, you had to break your conditioning to,
Yes.
you know, really appreciate the art and the artistry behind what looks like a really shitty movie.
Right. You know, because, you know, Grindhouse, you know, it was these small New York sleazy cinemas that got, you know, smaller movies.
Small, cheap action or horror movies.
Right.
And
And then they were getting third, fourth, fifth, sixth runs of them.
Yep.
Of actual film. So that after that's been played and then put back in its canister and then played and canister and played and canister, it starts to
degrade,
crinkle and wrinkle
Yep.
and scratch the film. Now this is where we start to talk a little bit more about like what happens within the movies. They did that on purpose to these movies. There are stories that Tarantino, after takes, he would take the film out of its reel and he would just throw it across the sandy, you know, concrete and get like legitimate like scratches and stuff on it, where Rodriguez, he went in and did it digital. But Tarantino was a madman doing that. And then
see, that's the movie I want to watch.
Is just watching him throw,
just destroy the movie. Yeah.
Well, let's see if there's behind the scene footage. And then like another thing that would happen, and you see it, so like especially like in Planet Terror, you know, it's about a stripper, there's sex scene. This is a thing that would legitimately happen in theaters back in the day, was the footage would like start to like slow down because the projectionist would rewind it to watch those scenes, which would then wear out the footage, slowing down the tape. Or they would snip out those scenes so they could keep the nudity.
Keep the good parts.
Right. So like you would see in these movies, a sex scene is happening and then the footage would start to get real blurry or stretched out, or, you know, it would start to get you know, extra scratchy, and then all of a sudden it would come up saying missing reel, sorry for the inconvenience.
Inconvenience my ass.
And that's what the other like the 6th theater that got it, they would have to put that in because
You have to have something to patch it.
it's missing from what the 3rd person who had the film did to. General movie-going audience did not understand this. Where's the rest of the movie at? Why does it look like this?
Yeah.
Um,
And that's why stylized movies are always such a risk.
yes.
And ultimately, this is one that will continue to grow in cult status.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Didn't do so well on original release. Ultimately, it will be and is a cult classic and will continue to have legs.
Oh, absolutely. Even legs with machine guns.
Yes. Very attractive legs with machine guns.
Yes. So,
Audio piece missing.
do we want to just kind of start breaking down like the order of how this was shown
Yeah.
in cinemas?
Let's go through the movie-going experience. You have your
Okay.
popcorn, you have your drink, you have your milk duds. Let's go
And
to
it's
the movies.
playing these kind of, the pre-show prep, so to speak. It's showing the let's all go to the lobby, let's all, to like it's showing these old-timey commercials to go to the
Say, go
food
get your
stand
snacks.
and
Go get.
get your snacks, get your popcorn, your drinks.
It was very much, again, start to finish an experience.
Right.
Even movies today that have like trailers worked into them didn't go to all the trouble that this one did.
Right.
It's not like you sat down at this one. It was, coming to blah, blah, blah theater in June, Jurassic Park, and then this and this and this and this and this. It was, you had your, let's all go to the lobby, your classic, get some snacks, some, fun, cartoony, short and
Yep.
Just very old school theater experience. And then Danny Trejo.
Yeah. Machete. So first trailer is directed by Robert Rodriguez. Makes sense. It's the first movie that we're going to see is Planet Terror. And so beforehand we get his trailer with Machete. And the concept came from I think the early idea of it was, I believe it's in Desperado, one of his earlier films, that there's a guy with a bunch of like knives, throwing knives, in his trench coat, and he opens it and he's zinging them at people. And he thought, how funny would it be to have someone do that with full-size machetes? And it would give him the opportunity to give, because he always thought that Danny Trejo, a great leading man, and how many people are going to give him that opportunity?
Not many, unless, the role is like lead biker.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean,
but that ain't main character.
No, well, unless it's a movie about a biker or a gang. And Trejo said this many times himself. Unless the movie is about a biker or a gangbanger or a drug lord, he's not getting. He's not the face you see on a poster.
Right.
So I think there was one interview. He's like, I'm not even sure this is a face a mother could love.
So yeah, we see Machete, and the thing about these trailers is they are making something that's 3 to 5 minutes long tops, and they need to pretend that this thing exists and make essentially all the best parts. So then you get people like Cheech Marin showing up in it, and he has a great line. So I think he's like, I don't remember if he's related to Machete or like they're just, close. And he's a pastor, Cheech is, and it's like all these Mexicans, they need to come together. And so, the alert is sounded, and Cheech, becomes part of the brigade, and, he's got like a shotgun, and one of the bad guys is like, it's like, please, Father, I beg of you, show mercy. And he goes, God shows mercy. I don't. And then, and it's just like, it's these fun one-liners.
Honestly, it'd be the best tagline if Pastor Cheech got his own spinoff.
Sure.
Pastor with the shotgun.
And then it's like, you got these crazy, like, deep, raspy voiced voiceovers, Machete gets all the ladies. And like, then it's him in a pool with two naked women, and it's just like, again, it's just like all the best parts. You don't even know why. All of a sudden he's got a Gatling gun that he puts on a motorcycle, and there's explosions, and it's like Machete,
Machete.
And then it's it. It's just, it really is a lot of fun, and it kickstarts the ride that we are about to
It's a hell of a roller coaster.
Yes.
And then from Machete, we take a trip to Planet Terror.
Yes.
Which is, of the two, I would say the schlockiest of the two.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
And
yes. I think it fits more of the Grindhouse, grimy kind of
over the top style
that, like, I'll get into this some more as we talk later, but a big thing for these movies when filmmakers were making them was kind of a what's the word I'm looking for? A potluck of genres, of stories and ideas. It's a melting pot of, we got all these wild ideas. Let's just throw them together. It doesn't make sense. Who cares?
It'll make sense at the end.
Right. It'll make sense at the end. Don't worry about it. We'll make it work. And that's why you have, like, there's a stripper, and then there's a guy that runs a barbecue joint, and then there's
the weird doctor,
a military,
and the military guy, and the ball obsessed guy.
Yeah, it's just all there. And like, why is there a guy that's obsessed with, cutting up balls and storing them in a pickle jar? And Fergie is in it, and it's just full of all this stuff. And then there's this virus that's going around that's, it's wild.
To me, Planet Terror screams late 60s, early 70s.
Yes.
From the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, just the one-liners, in some spots, over the top acting, under acting. Yeah. I mean, and these are all great actors and actresses in these roles. So
yeah,
that in and of itself had to be a challenge, because
let's throw in two twin nurses.
These spots are just over dramatic, or oh no, and it was just, it's so fun to watch.
Yeah.
They'd be underwhelming when they should be more poignant, and overwhelming at something as simple as, I stubbed my toe. Oh my God, I stubbed my toe. It's the worst thing that ever happened. That kind of thing. And it was amazing.
Yes. And then things too, like, it'll be an extremely bombastic scene, something just crazy happening. And then the very next scene, it will go to like this love, like dramatically in love music, while the main doctor woman is like texting because she's having an affair on her doctor husband.
And I gotta say, I mean, if I had to choose between Josh Brolin and Fergie, that'd be a hard pick.
I don't think it's Fergie.
Pretty sure it was.
Well, Here's why I say that. Give give me give me your reason.
I was just going off of just the way Fergie was acting before she had her no brainer. That one always sticks in my head. Just she this I got to get to where I'm going. Got to do this, got to do that. Like she was in such a rush, and it lined up with the text messages, and while it might not have been a physical affair at that point, I think it was definitely an emotional affair via messaging with Fergie.
So we're gonna fast forward here a little bit now onto Death Proof, and we see the radio DJ Jungle Julia is texting with someone.
Hey, maybe she's having an affair with both of them. She seemed pretty happy when she sat there with Cherry. I'm Cherry. Yes, you are. I mean, hey, Wendy Peppercorn gets around.
Yeah, she's texting with Jungle Julia in Death Proof. That's another area where the two movies merge together.
See, I would say it's my headcanon that that they were with each other, but that kind of gets blown out the back. So
what I think the Fergie character is, because if you think about it too, that was like a big deal at the time of like, oh, Fergie's gonna be in this. That I think that was purposeful stunt casting. You'll hear it a lot, like, oh, there's this big movie, and then they just put that in as like stunt casting, like big star just to show up for a random thing. I think that's what they were going for on purpose, and her story doesn't exactly matter. It's just, here's big star, she's in movie. Where's she going? What's she doing? I don't know. She's just going.
Well, the other reason I went with Fergie was, and it could have easily just been tongue in cheek and misdirection, but when the barbecue guy was like, got lies to save or something like that, she's like, how'd you know? And that fit with the, okay, I have to go get Tommy, and then I have to go pick her up, and then we got to get the hell out of here.
Mm-hmm.
So all that just kind of lined up, and it's like, well, I mean, it's Fergie.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what others have to say.
Yeah, let us know.
Comment.
Please.
Come back. Comment on a page, a post, anywhere, anything.
Who was the doctor having an affair with?
Give us your thoughts. But anyway, so yeah, great cast. You have Michael Biehn as one of the cops. You have Tom Savini as one of the cops. You have Jeff Fahey as the barbecue guy.
Now, I did want to ask, because you tend to know more than I know this generally more than I do. And the barbecue guy and Tom Savini is what brought it up. Was the barbecue joint the same shooting location that they used in Dusk Till Dawn?
Oh, I don't.
Because the shack looked, the shack and the scenery looked very reminiscent to the
I mean, if it is, maybe. I honestly don't know.
Well, see, and I don't either. It was something, as I was watching, I was like, whoa, that looks eerily similar. And being the same directors and
yeah,
you tend to go back to what you know.
Sure,
it would have fit. I mean,
possible.
It had the ditch,
I don't know.
It had all that, so I just figured I'd ask.
Yeah. And then Tarantino's in it. He's one of the Terry Leader guys. Just again, this movie is just wild. And like,
I mean, you got Bruce Willis,
right,
as like the head military guy.
Yeah. It's just so over the place. Like,
the cast
and again,
was just phenomenal.
So good. And I feel like with these movies, we're gonna jump around a little bit. We're kind of just giving our anecdotes of
why not. They did.
Right. Our thoughts of what happens within the movies. It's not going to be like a scene for scene breakdown. It's just talking about the experience. And you have Rose McGowan, who also starts off the movie. She's a dancer, and she's crying and she's in the back, and the boss is like, giving her a hard time. And he's like, you need to go out there and you gotta make people happy. It's go, not cry. She goes on her journey, hurts her leg, her on again, off again boyfriend, fixes her up with with the machine gun leg.
And see, that hurts me because the recoil off of that has got to mess up her hip.
So, one of the things too that I wanted to, just for the hell of it, is I brought out my Grindhouse figures that none of you can see, but
He's currently playing with Rose McGowan.
The Cherry figure, and previously discussed Machete, and then Quentin Tarantino
as stock military man. Like you could, at that figure you could just drop in any military movie, and he's like, here I am.
And I don't know why I cannot think of her name, but
Wendy Peppercorn.
It's Marley something is her real name. But yeah, the
Dr.
the
Block's
wife. Yeah, the wife that
or other Dr.
does
Block,
the anesthesia.
who taught us redheads are bad. It's the redheads you got to watch out for.
But yeah, 3 figures just for Planet Terror, 1 figure for Machete. I've got this book that Tarantino and Rodriguez interview each other in it, how they came up with the idea of it.
That's
it
a
has
thick book.
It has scripts, production art, and behind the scenes stuff.
That's a boiler.
Oh yeah. Really cool book, and I've got it signed by a couple from the cast. Point of bringing that all up is, it was not like they were putting this out. Like, it wasn't just another movie being made. Like, this whole thing was meant to be an experience that, and ultimately it is, and it lives on. It just didn't quite do what they wanted it.
It didn't have legs originally.
Right.
It only had 1 leg.
Made that Joker.
Yes, but it's relevant again.
Call back. But I don't know. Is there anything else that you want to discuss about Planet Terror, or should we just kind of keep?
Let's say Planet Terror, all in all, it was great throwback to the 70s, and of the movies, it is very much it's an empowerment movie.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you look at where Rose McGowan's character starts to where she ends.
Yeah.
That is a tale of triumph.
Yeah.
So that is one of the greatest things, one of the greatest story points of that movie.
Yep. Followed
right behind her being told she was pregnant because El Rey never misses.
That's right. Again, just fun one-liners. I told you I know.
It's like, oh. But no, I think that's a good wrap on Planet Terror. Who knows? We might come back and do a deep dive on Planet Terror someday.
Yeah. Werewolf Women of the SS.
That's a Nazi movie I want to watch.
Oh, of course. So there's a genre referred to as Nazi
exploitation.
Yes, thank you. There's Ilsa, she-wolf of the SS. Just all kinds of things like that that the 70s brought us. And it was usually putting some big-breasted blonde woman as a Nazi warden, sent to do the dirty work directly from Hitler. And so a lot of times what they would do is they would essentially make movies based off of like, well, we have access to this props house. And what's all the things that are in his props house? Well, here's wardrobe. And they would have like period specific wardrobe. And so there's like a lot of like military uniforms, so like a lot of Nazi uniforms, and then there would be ancient Japanese garb, and they'd be like, well, we have access to all this stuff, let's use it, we'll make a movie. And they just cram all this stuff together.
And you get Nazis versus Samurais, Part 7.
Yes.
Bloodlust.
And then on top of that, it's like, well, one of the things about Hitler and Nazis in Germany at that time was that they experimented with science. They were advanced in their science, and Hitler was always trying to expand on things and whatever. So you take those ideas, you take the props and the wardrobe that you have, you mash it all together,
and
you
get
have
3
Nazis.
of my favorite things.
You have Nazis trying to create werewolves.
I should probably clarify what my 3 favorite things are during that course of that conversation.
Yeah.
It's not Nazis. It's bombshells, werewolves, and Rob Zombie.
Nice save.
I could do without the Nazis, but you give me the babes, the werewolves, and zombie.
Well, and look.
In the course of the story, they fit, but it's not one of my top 3.
I don't think, I know neither of us are, and I would like to think that your loyal listenership do not approve or condone of what Nazis did in real life. But as cinema lovers and horror fans, Nazi things are interesting.
Mm-hmm.
They make for good characters, much like Joker or Darth Vader, or
and Nazis are essentially low-hanging fruit. You can grab that fruit and do whatever the hell you want to it, because who are you going to offend? And you can make some really, really great stuff out of it.
Yeah.
And there has been. Unfortunately, this has still just remained a trailer.
Yeah. And now, if you're, going like, well, why'd you bring up the Asian guy? Well, because at the end of the trailer, and you've got, again, full of, genre favorite. You have Bill Moseley as the scientist who is, mistreated. You have Sherry Moon and Sybil Downing, who is another, was around in the 70s, in a lot of those types of movies, as, the Nazi ladies that turn into werewolves. You have Tom Tolles. You have, now there's a scene where it shows a couple soldiers, fighting at a concentration camp. They're watching this fight. That was 2 professional wrestlers, Test and Vladimir Kozlov. And so, again, just a cast full of cool people. And then at the end, and it's like...
And Nicolas Cage as
Fu Manchu. And he turns around and he's got the big sarcastic Fu Manchu. He's in Asian wardrobe. And he just lets out this ridiculous laugh, and then that's it.
There's a lot of great spots in this little trailer, but my favorite is that cast rundown, and you see, all you see is the back of what gets revealed as Fu Manchu. So you see this Asian looking gentleman, in theory, you see essentially a kimono, the black hair, in what looks to be an Imperial Japan setting. You're like, all right, this is weird. And Nicolas Cage, what? As Fu Manchu.
Yeah.
What?
Right.
Give me. I want.
Yeah.
Because just quick sidebar, I love watching Nicolas Cage be weird. And I think to get a chance to see Nicolas Cage play the Fu Manchu character would be amazing. Because I'd love to see where he takes it.
Yeah.
Because when he turned around, it didn't seem like it doesn't look or come across as a stereotype or anything like that. It was just somebody with a Fu Manchu mustache.
Well, and again, it is making a movie based off of a time that if they said, we have this Asian wardrobe, well, we don't have any Asians. So what? We'll just dress one up like one. Like, that's just the way movies were made.
Yeah.
Especially these super low budget. Just make something.
Yeah.
That is what they are going when making. Unfortunately, like you said, this one not made.
Say this one and the next one were not made, and they're the two I want to see the most, just
Well,
because of taglines.
Yeah.
Next one is Don't.
Yeah.
And this whole trailer is sold entirely on the voiceover.
Oh yeah.
Don't look under the bed. Don't go into that room. Don't move that dead body. Thinking
Right.
about playing with the dolls? Don't. Thinking
if
about
you were thinking about going in that house,
don't. Yeah, and,
and this one is Edgar
whole
Wright.
trailer.
Yeah. And again, like, he has his cast. Like, Simon Pegg is in this.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Frost is in it. And now Edgar Wright's plan for this was, I believe it was more of like more Italian cinema.
Yeah.
And they would just like put all these things in the move, like the trailer, that never ever once tells you what the movie is.
Sure it is. Don't. It tells you what not to do.
But what's the story? You know,
Don't
at least
care.
with Machete, it's this Mexican, you know, going out on a revenge plot, you know, or whatever. Werewolf Women of the SS. It is, you know, Nazis creating werewolf, you know.
Thinking we're gonna give you the story? Don't.
Right. And at the end, it actually says, if you were thinking about seeing this movie, don't.
Well, and like right before that, it was like, if you were thinking of seeing this movie alone, don't. And it's like, what the crap?
You know, because it's like, again, it never once explains what the movie is at all.
It's so off the rails, but
Right.
I want to see it so bad.
Exactly. And a lot of times, because that's how the trailers would be cut back then, because again, they just made some bullshit. And they're like, well, how do we market this? I don't know. And then they would see the movie and they'd be like, that was horrible.
Oh, it's nice to see not much has changed.
Right. So,
it's like they put all the good stuff in the trailers. Well, in this case, they did.
I remember, you know, every couple years, Grindhouse talk would come, and it'd be, you know, when are we gonna see these other movies? When are we gonna get a sequel? You know, when are we gonna get another double feature? You know, because that was kind of the idea too. There were 4 on the bigger scale. There were 4 trailers shown. So you see this movie of Planet Terror and Death Proof, and then you would see the next movie of Machete and Don't, and then you would see the next movie of Werewolf Women of the SS and Thanksgiving. Eli Roth did his short trailer of Thanksgiving, which the story behind that was him and his best friend growing up, huge horror movie fans, always wanted to see a Thanksgiving slasher film because for them growing up, there was obviously Halloween, Friday the 13th, April Fool's Day, there was My Bloody Valentine, there's Prom Night, there was Happy Birthday to Me. There's all these like holiday-esque themed movies, these slasher films. But where's Thanksgiving? Why is there not some demented pilgrim going around and killing people? So they had this idea from childhood, and when it was time to put this movie together, they asked Eli Roth to do it. They're like, got the idea. We're going to do Thanksgiving. And, to step back real quick, I remember why I was saying every couple years it would get brought up of like, when's another one of these movies going to get made? And I remember on Twitter, and I put, you know, if you ... bunch of spaces thought ... bunch of spaces that at Edgar Wright's movie Don't ... bunch of spaces was ever actually going to get made ... bunch of spaces. And then I got a screen grab of, from the trailer with the splash screen saying Don't. And he actually like retweeted it, laughed about it, whatever. And I was like, yes. But anyway, I forgot about that story and thought it was pretty funny. But yeah, so Thanksgiving, he makes the trailer. I forget. I think he said they were in like Prague or something. They were filming Hostel 2 overseas. So if you watch that trailer, it just looks very, the scenery, the buildings and everything just look very different and unique. It's because it was shot over in a different country. But hey, what is it? Like 19 years? No, not that long. 17, 18. I'm bad at math. I hate math. Thanksgiving did get turned into an official film, which we'll get into a little later. Is there anything that you would like to say about the Thanksgiving trailer?
It's not a dinner I want to attend. There's a big naked person on the table.
Well, and that's, again, it's taking all the best parts.
Yeah.
And again, we'll get into that some more. Now here's some bonus content.
Now,
The film proper, it had those trailers and then it went into Death Proof. But in the Canadian market, there was a contest where they wanted to give an independent, fan, filmmaker an opportunity to make their own fake trailer and have it placed into the movie in Canadian cinema officially. And that fake trailer that won, and I remember this being a huge deal. I was following this. I was watching the fake trailers. I bet a bunch of them are probably still available. You can find them. But the one that won was Hobo with a Shotgun.
Yes, it was.
And the fake trailer is super fun. Has a different cast because again, it was an independent filmmaker and his buddies making a fake trailer, with no real budget, no star power, nothing like that, no resources. And that would be Jason Eisner, who made that one. He has gone on to have a pretty cool, and that is, again, another trailer. It's very interesting. Rob Zombie, Edgar Wright, both, and up until just very recently, Eli Roth, all very credible filmmakers. I know, hey, you might like or dislike what they do, but they put stuff out.
Yeah.
Machete got a movie, it got a sequel, and
Machete
again,
got an expanded universe.
Right. But up until just very recently, the only other trailer to get a movie was Hobo with the Shotgun. So congratulations for that.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a
contest win.
Yeah. Let's move on to Death Proof. Tarantino's section of...
Good old Stuntman Mike.
Speaking of Stuntman Mike, he got a figure too.
Not in his silver jumpsuit. That's so weird.
Well, it's the later half of the movie. But we'll talk about that. Interesting. I put Death Proof as like top favorite Quentin Tarantino movie. It is largely considered his worst film to date.
It is hands down one of my favorite action films.
He even he considers it, I don't think he dislikes it, but I think he even considers it like the one that he just didn't deliver what people expected out of it.
Well, and I think ultimately...
that's a shame because I love this movie.
Well, and ultimately, I think that has to do with the general reception of the whole package and not just...
I don't think so. This is coming from Tarantino fans, hardcore Tarantino fans. Death Proof. This is a pretty common consensus. Because the people that know Grindhouse, Grindhouse didn't do that well, but the people that know Grindhouse love Grindhouse. This is, again, it's very largely considered, it is not Tarantino's best work.
One of my favorite action movies.
Yeah.
Great cast.
Mm-hmm.
Great looking cast.
2 casts.
Yeah.
Death Proof is kind of 2 movies in of itself.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, something interesting to go back to the Grindhouse aesthetic of this movie. And it is so fast. You blink and you, like, literally you blink and you will. Another thing that would happen back in the day, this actually happened famously to George Romero's Night of the Living Dead. It had an original title. Don't remember what it was called. The movie was made with that original title. Even showed, I think, with that original title, and then was like, oh, no, we need to change the title, whatever. And they changed it to Night of the Living Dead, and it was because of the name change that they forgot to copyright it or trademark it, because the original name was trademarked. So, while you're watching Death Proof, as it says Death Proof on the screen, it very, very quickly has a different title card that pops up on the screen of what the movie is called, and it's called Thunderbolt. And then it quickly goes away and it's called Death Proof. So it's implied that Death Proof later got renamed, which again was very common of films of that time.
Well, and specifically, the one I can think of most prevalently is Buddy Cooper's Mutilator. It was originally called Fall Break until it went to marketing, and marketing is like, this isn't going to sell. Now,
not a chance.
They had done everything. There's even a song in the movie, Fall Break, kind of an upbeat, song for Fall Break. It gets rebranded Mutilator.
Yeah.
Great posters, all this stuff. Movie starts out, you're going to see Mutilator. And it cuts into this like really cheesy 80s intro, Fall Break. And then the movie continues just because they couldn't cut it out. Just because of how it was shot.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's what happens when you get your marketing set up afterwards and you decide to change your name.
Yeah. So again, and that's one of those things, like, I don't see it get talked about a lot, but it's just something that I remember seeing one of the times I watched, and I was like, wait, whoa, wait, what was that? Because it's like bright yellow and red, and like, the Death Proof font is not that way.
Say it happened a lot with the classic kung fu movies as well.
Oh yeah. So it just, again, just another thing that you when you're really paying attention, you catch little things of how they truly made this feel like something that would have come out back in the 70s. And so yeah, this movie comparatively is, I feel like this one is a little more contemporary. Like, it's still like a kind of an artsy Tarantino type film. It's a different kind of horror, and it's not like super crazy over the top.
No, it kind of falls more to like a Steve McQueen style movie.
Yeah.
Which, again, as you're going back to older generation movies, especially if you're going to pick a car movie, you pick Steve McQueen. That's your go-to car guy for that era.
Yeah.
And that's 100% where this fell.
Mm-hmm.
And God, the cars were gorgeous.
Oh, sure. So yeah, again, all subtle stuff, but letting you know that these 2 movies also exist in the same universe. We see Jungle Julia texting with, the doctor in Planet Terror. We see the twins, walk by again, like they show up in the bar, like after their shift. I believe, a couple of the cops are in it. All just, again, little references to Planet Terror, and their connectivity, their connective tissue. But yeah, so the movie, it starts out with one cast, and we see Rosario no, we see Rose McGowan back, but she's a completely different character, blonde hair, whatever.
Kind of
And
girl next door
Eli,
type.
yep, girl next door. Obviously had some sort of connection with the main group of girls. But like she might have been the popular one, so they had a rift. And they're all at the bar, and by the end of the night, after the drinks are flowing, they all kind of like getting along with each other. And Eli Roth is in it. Quentin Tarantino plays the bartender, and Kurt Russell, incredible.
Like peak Kurt Russell form.
Oh yeah. Yes, just that kind of that over the top, just has the charm.
I say they brought the 80s Kurt Russell into this movie. This was Escape from New York. This was every one of his movies where he was that it's quintessential hero, just charming. His charm was rolled into Stuntman Mike.
Yes. What's your name? Stuntman Mike. Oh, yeah. Ask the guy at the bar. Who is he? Oh, that's the Stuntman Mike. What's he do? He's Stuntman. Yeah. They're like, oh, did you do this? It's like, no, that was my brother. Oh, what's his name? Stuntman Bob. Again, just like small, subtle things, super fun. And by the end of the night, again, everybody in the bar just getting along, having fun with each other. And he ends up leaving with Rose McGowan character, and his side is all protected, and the other side, the passenger side, just has a little seat. And she's like, there's not a real chair. He's like, no, this is where they put the camera. And when it becomes more of a horror film is when we have they're on the road. Rose McGowan's character thinks he's gonna take her home, and he just starts driving like a crazy maniac, flipping her all around the car. She doesn't have a seat belt. There's no padding, there's no protective anything. She's kind of beat up, and
she gets beat up a lot in these two.
It's true, very true. But he knows where the other group of girls are, the 4 girls, and he drives past them, turns the lights off, goes way down to the other side of the road, flips a cookie, and is just revving that car up. And she's like, please stop, I won't tell anyone. The 4 girls in the other car, they're listening to music, they're having fun. It's late, they're probably kind of drunk, not paying attention to what's going on, and he just starts going. And just before he hits, he turns the headlights on, and wham! And what an incredible car crash.
Yes.
That we see the angle of how each one dies. Jungle Julia, she's got her leg, she's bouncing her leg out the window, dancing to the music, and that leg just flies off and just flops on the ground. You see a tire fly off and go up one of her faces. Incredibly shot.
They tell you not to stick your feet out the window.
But then fast forwards. Now we have a new cast of girls, and we've got Rosario Dawson, we've got Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Forget her name. She was in Rent with Rosario Dawson, and then why can't I think of her name? She's an actual Australian stunt woman who was in the movie. And we come to find out, are all kind of thrill seekers, and they meet up with Kurt Russell, who thinks he's going to have his way with them, the same outcome. He's being extra creepy, following them around. And one of the thrill-seeking things that they want to do is they get on the top of the car and they hold on and drive real fast.
Car surfing.
Well, huh?
Said, car surfing.
Yes. Kurt Russell's character, Stuntman Mike, starts running into them, trying to drive them off the side of the road, whatever. They finally get back in the car, and he's like surprised that they, made it. And he's like laughing, and he's, congratulating him. He's clapping his hands. He's just like, man, that was so much fun. Oh, you guys were great. Blah, blah, blah. And then they beat the shit out of it. And all of that charismatic charm that we talked about from Kurt Russell goes away. And he is sobbing, crying for them. Please stop. Oh my God, please stop.
They beat the charm out of Kurt.
It is so funny. And again, the empowerment that we see in the first one rolls over into this one too. And those girls do not take his shit.
No.
So that ends Grindhouse. And I'm sure that this is going long. So, we can try and skate through these last bits. But let's talk about the now 4 movies that came from these fake trailers. Machete kills.
Because 2 Machete doesn't have the ring. 1 Machete,
right.
2 Machete, 3 Machete.
It's funny. So Machete, Rodriguez had the task of taking what was filmed for that fake trailer and turning it into a full-length movie. And a lot of it, he reuses the same footage and then builds a movie around that footage. And it's good. It's successful at how he does it. One of the funny things about it is now Jeff Fahey is in this movie, but he's a completely different character. Slicked back hair, kind of mobster guy. His character is now fleshed out more, and he has a wife and a daughter. And that daughter is played by Lindsay Lohan. And in the trailer, it shows Machete is with these 2 women, a blonde and a redhead, and they're naked and they're in the pool making out with each other.
Because Machete gets all the women.
Right. Now in the trailer, it's 2 totally different actresses, but in the movie, I forget who plays the wife, but Lindsay Lohan plays the redheaded daughter, and now he's hooking up with Jeff Fahey, the main villain's wife and daughter. And so it like shows him start to get with them, and then it cuts to the trailer footage. So, and that's kind of neat because say a star at the time maybe were to have like a sex scene, but they did not want to show off any nudity of their naked self. They would have a stand-in. So you didn't actually see Lindsay Lohan, you saw the person from the trailer. And then Lindsay Lohan actually goes on later to then become a nun. And you get Michelle Rodriguez, who plays She. You get Jessica Alba. I mean, they pumped up this cast. And it was cool. And then they move on to Machete Kills, which Machete Kills has a fake trailer attached to it that is called Machete Kills Again in Space.
In space. See, everything goes to space.
And he has a machete lightsaber in this fake trailer. Still waiting on that move. But again, Machete Kills, super fun. And I think this was the one where like they made it real crazy. So yeah, Machete Kills. Charlie Sheen is in it as the president of the United States. And since, it's Robert Rodriguez, it's Machete, it's very, Hispanic, heavy in the casting and the story and all of that. When someone makes their film debut, it always says introducing so-and-so. It's their first film. Obviously, this isn't Charlie Sheen's first movie, but it did say introducing Carlos Estevez, which I thought was incredible and just clever. Lady Gaga is in the movie as a disguise, shape shifting, like she can wear, whatever. She's always in disguise.
Lady Gaga
Amber
played
Heard
herself.
Is in it.
Is basically what you're telling me. She can wear whatever.
Even
she
more
wants.
so though. So yeah, again, just super fun. Is there something about Machete that you would like to talk about?
This machete wielding character, this over the top like killer character, gets added to his own expanded universe, and you see him essentially later in life in the Spy Kids franchise.
Yes.
It is so bizarre that you have who essentially a retired Machete hanging out with these kids doing Machete things. It just baffles my mind.
And then said we're still waiting on Machete Kills Again in space. At this point I wonder if it would even happen. But talked about this as well. The other fake trailer to get made was Hobo with a Shotgun.
Yes.
And it was now starring Rutger Hauer, and who I absolutely am a fan of, and thrilled to find out that this was being turned into a movie. The guy that played him in the fake trailer, it was like, nah. It was fun to do, this little project, but that's not for me. So he did play like a small role in it. Hobo with a Shotgun.
I say Hobo with the Shotgun.
Love this movie.
Oh yeah. I say it. The way it plays out feels a lot like the DiCaprio Romeo and Juliet. Just like the action and the cinematography style, and just the way it's shot progression.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's by far one of my favorite movies, and is my favorite of this franchise. And you have this, it says it all in the title. It's about a hobo with a shotgun, but he decides he's going to clean up the streets, and he finds a love interest, but it's not really a love interest. He finds good, and that's what drives him. And it's an amazing movie.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed. Very glad that it was made. Said Jason Eisner. He was the director of it. He went on to do, he would do like, kind of more shorts and stuff like, the ABCs of Death and things like that. But prominently and has done very well with, he is one of the main of two creative forces behind Dark Side of the Ring. For wrestling fans. I know a lot of people who aren't even like wrestling fans per se love seeing these because it just tells the dark side of, what happens in wrestling, and the way that they're made and shot are just incredible. And so that's him. And it's very cool to see that, he's continued on and he's done well for himself after, just making a fake trailer that won a contest.
All about a hobo with a shotgun.
So then, all these years later, Thanksgiving finally is being turned into a real movie. There was no way, with how big of a fan I am of this, that I was going to miss this. So I went Thanksgiving Day.
I fell asleep at my family's Thanksgiving. They took pictures.
Now I listened to Eli Roth on a couple podcasts that I feel like it would be beneficial for people to go check out. And he was on Mick Garris's podcast, this famous guy within the filmmaking business. And then he was on Talk is Jericho, professional wrestler Chris Jericho. And he said that it was a little difficult for him to crack at first, because the model of this is to, when you're making these fake trailers, you put in all the best parts. and then you then have to build a movie around this trailer. You now have to figure out how to make all these parts fit into a story. And he's like, we put all these insane, crazy deaths in, and now like we're gonna try and find a story. Like he's like, so basically, he's like, I changed what the formula basically, and how that trailer in this universe is a movie that was made back in the 70s, and it was just considered so vile, so grotesque that it was shown maybe once or twice, and then it was pulled from cinemas and ordered to be burned, never to be seen or found again. So this movie is essentially a remake of what everybody knows about that movie. That way it can still be its own thing while still touching on a couple parts from the trailer, but it is now its own movie, and it's modern times. It doesn't have to try and fit into an era or anything like that. It is a new movie, and you have not seen it. So I'm not gonna give anything too crazy away. But I did enjoy the movie. I do feel like it feels like a little bit more like the feel of Scream meets I Know What You Did Last Summer, but I feel that's kind of like how the story plays out. But the kills are super creative, like a Friday the 13th.
Yes.
That's how I would describe this. And I will say that I think they did a very good job at doing that. On a personal note, because it is so Grindhouse related, I miss not having the Grindhouse feel to it.
A little too polished in comparison.
If it wasn't Grindhouse related, yes, it's very polished.
Yeah.
It's again, I don't think that's a bad thing. It's just comparative to that style that it originally came from. It has a different feel, but it is a very fun slasher movie. And they the studio, everyone involved, like truly believed in this thing, because before the movie was even out, they are making figures, like 3 different figures, stuffies, merchandise, masks, all this stuff based on a movie that's not out.
No clue
Not
how it's
off
going
of-
to do.
Right, not off of an existing. I know there was a trailer, obviously, but like, if Halloween is coming out with a new movie, yeah, they're making masks and figures and stuff, but Halloween's a proven commodity. They can do that. There's a built-in fan base for Michael Myers. There's not a built-in fan base for John Carver.
There is now.
Well, yes. And they truly believed in Eli Roth. They believed in the film, and they went all in. Talk about a movie. Even if the movie sucked, it was very well, like the best that you can be marketed.
It was everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. I saw tons of people talking about this movie. It is, and I'm sure, like, to some degree, some might be like, oh, well, that's not that hard to do. But it is Eli Roth's highest rated film. It is considered his best made movie. I personally would not put it at, my favorite of his, not upon first viewing anyway.
You gotta let it marinate a little.
Sometimes you gotta let that turkey marinate. Like I said, I did enjoy it. I personally looked at it as, okay, that was a cool kind of your run-of-the-mill slasher film, a very well done run-of-the-mill slasher film. I do not want that to come across as like again, from me personally, everybody's mileage may vary, but
Yeah.
for me personally, I don't want that to seem like, oh, well, you didn't think that. Like, no, it's just on a personal base. I would have liked to see something a little bit more, Grindhouse feel. And I thought it was just, again, this is what slasher movies are.
Oh, 100%. And I can't wait to watch it. Before we put this Holiday Hangover episode to bed.
Yeah.
I do want to ask, if you were to just pick a holiday that hasn't been done yet, a holiday slasher movie, what would it be?
I mean, all the main ones have pretty much been done. I mean, I don't know, Arbor Day, something with
It could be another slasher to take place in Nebraska.
Mutant trees, some sort of toxin gets in the trees. I have no idea.
See, I'm thinking Hanukkah.
Okay.
And it's because you get, 8 nights of killing, essentially.
Okay.
I think Hanukkah would be a fun one to run a slasher around.
Sure.
I don't have it all mapped out yet, but it's definitely Hanukkah because you can maximize, like, Halloween, 1 day. Christmas, 1 day. All of them, 1 day. Hanukkah, 8 days. Hell, Kwanzaa, the Kwanzaa killer. A long-running, you take a holiday with multiple days and turn that into a slasher, the possibilities are endless. And I think that's the next step in the holiday slasher.
I'm down.
So, where can listeners keep up to date with Billy Peck and maybe see you performing live in the coming weeks?
Yeah. Please check out my band, Graveyard Smash. You are here. You are a fan of horror, and that is what Graveyard Smash is, a band that sings about horror movies. We are on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, Bandcamp, YouTube. Just check out Graveyard Smash. We are on Instagram, Facebook, X, all at Graveyard Smash 13, and you would like to check me out talking about wrestling and collecting as part of Matt Cardona, Brian Myers, and Smart Mark Sterling's Major Pod Network. Check out the Major World Order, all at Major World Order.
You can check both of us out on the Zoobly Zoo podcast, which you heard a bumper for at the very beginning of this episode, on Spotify, on everywhere he just mentioned before.
Yep, all at Zoobly Zoo Pod, Zoobly Zoo Podcast. Check that out, where we hang out with original cast member Michael B. Moynihan, who played Lookout Bear, and we talk about episode of the show.
And you can find me and other great podcasters over at electronicmediacollective.com, or if you just want to find me, head over to Facebook, Twitter, and now YouTube at Moose Media Inc. Just look for the Moose. And if you find yourself in the Omaha area and just want to stop in and say hi to either of us, we will both be at PWP Live Candy Cane Chaos at the Waiting Room Lounge on December
20th.
It's like there was a 2. And we will also both be at the Waiting Room Lounge, where another band that Billy is in will be performing on New Year's Eve. So come say hi, hang out, show your appreciations. And until next time, Horror Hounds, mash on.
This has been Moose's Monster Mash. Come back for more chills and thrills if you dare.